Hello, and welcome to the fourth installment of playing CK3 on the hardest possible difficulty settings, starting as the Duke of Bohemia in 1066. I want to start this episode by talking a bit about why I have not been trying to do much conquering and instead have really been focused on building up my realm. There are at least five general reasons when you're playing on these hardest possible settings that you don't want to try conquering a whole bunch of territory from the beginning. The first one is that your vassals hate you and will rebel as frequently as they can. In terms of the rules here, we are playing on very hard. That makes AI vassals much more likely to form factions against you and to rebel. In addition to that, we are playing with lesser realm stability. This means a higher amount of factions arise against you. And so you have two modifiers that make factions more frequent. If you conquer a whole bunch of vassals, that's just more vassals that can form claimant factions against you, independence factions, especially liberty factions, which they love doing. And so you really want to conquer slowly, get only the vassals you can handle, continue building up your own power. The second is that we have scourge conquerors all around, at least potentially. And scourge conquerors have a kingdom level CB that they use very frequently. And the concern is if we go outside Bohemia, we'll be going into getting a duchy and a kingdom that a scourge conqueror might take. Most specifically, scourge conquerors usually love to get Germany. After Germany, they usually go for either Bavaria or Lotharingia. We're in 1089. Often by this time, the HRE has been torn apart. So it's lost Germany, lost Bavaria, or Lotharingia. And we'd be talking about, or I would be talking about, is it time to start an independence faction, break away from the HRE, and either become a tributary or swear fealty to some nearby scourge conqueror? The reason that hasn't happened, as we talked about in prior episodes, is that our liege, Kaiser Heinrich, very smartly formed an alliance with the Scourge Conqueror that came from Wales and eventually formed Britannia, who is now dead, leaving a very young son. And that probably because of that alliance, the Scourge Conqueror that used to be over here and had formed Westphalia, which is now gone, was not attacking the HRE. So this is actually a surprisingly stable HRE on these settings. Indeed, you can look and see the HRE has actually expanded a bit. The HRE is taken over Sicily, where I guess either King Robert or his descendants decided to pledge fealty. Also, Silesia broke off probably as part of the Scourge Conqueror that formed Westphalia dying, and it has also joined the HRE. So this is quite unusual in terms of the HRE holding together. Third point is that we have total exclave independence on as one of our rules. That means you really want all of your lands to be connected. If they aren't, then what happens is on succession, all lands that are not connected to the land containing your capital, either by land or sea, will become independent. So, for example, suppose we could get a claim on Lower Lotharingia, ruled by a woman. Pope may give us a claim, and then we would go over there and conquer that. Well, unless we were to conquer additional lands to connect Lower Lotharingia with Bohemia, as soon as King Bratislav died, and he's quite old, Lower Lotharingia would become independent again. So it doesn't really help us that much. So it really limits the areas we want to look to be our immediately surrounding territories in terms of what we want to conquer. Fourth issue is obviously we're Christian and it becomes difficult to get claims on territories. Because we're playing on very hard, the Pope is less likely to give us claims. We could also try to, of course, fabricate claims, but that takes money and time. And so often, I think we're better off building up ourselves here. Later on, we'll have more ways to get claims, conquer more territories at once, get the divine right innovation, so forth, and we'll be in a better position to do that because of the work we've done. Fifth reason is the opportunity cost. Currently we've been building buildings with all the money we're getting. If we were to go to war, our unraised men-at-arms cost currently 14 gold. That would jump up to 42 gold, which means our net income would go to I believe 18 gold if I've done the math correctly, which would mean a lot less money to build buildings, which will provide additional income development going into the future. And so we really don't want to go to war and bear that opportunity cost unless we're taking territories that are going to be useful to us in terms of tax revenue, levies, both now and going forward. And a sixth reason, somewhat specific to our circumstances, is if you're at war, you could not declare a co-monarch. As I talked about previously, Bohemia has house seniority, which means all your realms are inherited by a single person, so they don't split, but that generally they go to the oldest member of your house. The first one of those things is very good. The second one is very bad. The oldest member of our house is someone who is not a very good ruler, only has a 2-star education, not someone we want to play. There are a couple ways to bypass house seniority, making your heir your oldest ruler. One of those is if you can get up to absolute crown authority, but we are not going to live long enough to do that. In fact, we just had the 3rd level high crown authority become available. We are going to pass that for the extra gold right now, but Vratislav is not going to live another 20 years. The other option that you can do is declare someone your co-monarch, which is in fact what we've already done with this 17-year-old here, who's a very good character, 4-star stewardship education, temperate, diligent, brave. So I think he'll be a good leader when Vratislav the First, whatever he is, dies. But you can't declare a co-monarch if you're at war. And so my concern was we get caught up in some war that might last longer than we expected. I would not, Vratislav the Second here would come with age, but I wouldn't be able to declare him co-monarch. Our current ruler would die, and we again end up with a very poor heir. So that's why, again, we've been focusing internally, haven't really been looking to conquer too much. Now, having said all that and explaining why I haven't been conquering very much, I think now actually I kind of want to look around and see if we want to conquer, if we can get strictly Bavaria or Mesen and then possibly Lausitz. The reason for that is, talking about the second reason was that I haven't been conquering is because of the concern that you have scourge conquerors around you. They can easily just come in, take the kingdom where the lands are that we've just conquered, which will either be in Germany and Bavaria, and we'll have gone through all the effort and again the cost of raising our armies and taking those lands for basically nothing, because the lands will just go to the scourge conqueror. But given that we've just seen 2 scourge conquerors, both to our west and east, go away, now the lands are a bit more stable. The second reason I just talked about doesn't really apply as much. There's still some concern here about the Almoravids. They're currently attacking Anatolia, apparently. It's quite far away from the Maccabi. Yeah, a bit far away, but in any case, they're attacking the Byzantine Empire. They could very easily, they've already come up a good chunk of Spain. They easily come up Italy and pose a threat to us. So that's something that we need to worry about, but it would be a while before they got to our lands, particularly in Bohemia. The Cumans are also led by a scourge conqueror, could easily start coming west and posing a threat, but again, not too close. And so at the moment, I think the HRE is relatively stable. I may regret saying that by the end of this episode or next episode, but that is at least the way it looks now. And so one thing that I was thinking about is how feasible it would be to get another duchy in Bavaria, particularly the Duchy of Bavaria, and whether that would give me enough counties to form the Kingdom of Bavaria, which would significantly increase our income and also increase probably our heirs' ability to become the HRE Emperor, which we do eventually want to do once we think we're powerful enough to handle all the vassals that come with being HRE Emperor. I doubt we will be able, yeah. I guess the question is, what is the Pope's opinion of us? Click the wrong thing. Yeah, he's quite old. I don't know that we want to depend on him in terms of, probably bribing him and then seeing if he'll give us a claim on Bavaria. Yeah, even if we get Duke Heinrich here excommunicated, is probably not going. That's usually worth like 50 or 60, so it's probably not going to be enough to get the Pope to give us a claim here. So the Duchy of Bavaria would have been very nice because it contains enough counties that if we just conquered it alone, we would have enough to form the Kingdom of Bavaria. The other option, which isn't really an option, is Austria, but they are our allies, and so don't want to go against them. But it does look like their ruler is not in great shape. Possibly, if he dies, we could turn on them, but I don't think it's worth necessarily trying to go to either of those. It may be better if we wait until the Pope dies. Let's actually pin him so we have him up here when he dies and see what his successor is like, and maybe it'll be worth bribing his successor, swaying him, and seeing about whether we can get a claim on the Duchy of Bavaria. The one other thing I wanted to do, or at least check, because I think I forgot, is I did not train for a tournament up here, which I should have done earlier. At this point, Bratislav is really too old, but this is something you want to pin, or at least remember, because you want to be training for tournaments. That generally improves your success in tournaments, which gives you more hostile looter experience, which is very beneficial in developing your character. One other thing I want to look at is whether there are any good wives available for our son. We'd really want to have someone who's either a genius or intelligent. Ideally someone younger than him, but I'm just not seeing any geniuses. Obviously we could go with this woman who has quite good stats and actually some good traits as well. Cynical is debatable, but I think let's go ahead and have him marry her despite the age difference. It's possible that's the best we'll do. While we're at it, I also want to look at our other family members that aren't married, see about getting them married to people with good genetic traits. This is really how you get your genetics program in gear, and this can be a bit micromanagement or time consuming, but I think it's something that is well worth doing, because if you can develop good genetic traits in your family, that makes getting to strong blood, having all your characters be geniuses, you get there much faster, and those are all very positive things you can do. It just makes a dramatic difference to having a character who's a genius versus a character who isn't. It's worth 25 total stats. And so here, really looking for why. Okay, so there's a question as to why she did not show up for my main heir, this 4-year-old genius here. Not sure why this character could marry her, but in any case, we will make sure to take that, even if our primary heir could not. Another male genius, happy to marry him. Intelligent 12-year-old, that obviously works. intelligent 11-year-old is, a bit old for our 4-year-old grandson, but he'll still marry her or betroth our grandson to her. Another Herculean. And again, because we've already got the two first parts of the blood tree, it's good for our dynasty to be the ones that are the dominants in the marriage relationship, so we get those benefits that are more likely to pass on any genetic traits. Go here with beautiful. And predictably, there will probably come a time, likely very soon, we're going to be doing some inbreeding. Nothing too severe, but quite likely some cousin inbreeding and so forth. Okay, now that we've done that, let's let this run for a little bit. I guess what we will accept here, whether we actually do anything, is less clear. It's a bit unfortunate, as we wanted Austria to join us in our own wars. Because the other option I was thinking about was attacking Meissen up here, which we do have a claim on Meissen based on what an event that always happens for Vratislav early in the game. Probably won't be able to depend on Austria, but Upper Lotharingia, I think they just fought a war. They just have a ton of troops. This goes back to playing on very hard. The AI rulers make a lot of money. Mercenaries are significantly cheaper for them, and so they just hire a lot of mercenaries. Might be worth trying to take over Meissen, even if Austria can't really help us as much. I think we do want another full regiment of our special cavalry, special heavy footmen, the Zabrajnosh. Obviously takes some gold, but they're going to be powerful in terms of fighting this battle now if we take it. And also, when our main character here does die and our heir takes over, we will want him to have a big military to discourage any sort of rebellions against him. And so we don't really want to train for a tournament at this point, given his age, because he's likely just to get injured. And even while we have our designated heir, we don't want Vratislav, to die any sooner than he really has to, because he is a very powerful character. This is our youngest son. I make him temperate. See if we can make him diligent on our own. So, he has two quite good traits. But he won't be our heir since we've already designated Vratislav. And again, we'd have to live for another 7 years, which I'm thinking is not terribly likely to happen. So it's between these two. We might as well just get a little more prestige. Keep an eye on this Austrian war here. Looks like Austria feels confident enough to go in. And they probably are going to win that battle. Yeah. Ideally, they would be able to end their war quickly and then come help us against Messing, or at least not get upset when we don't come to help them. A travel time of 6 months, I think, is just a little bit too far, especially since if we go to the Grand Tournament, then of course we can't declare war. So we don't really want to go right now when we're thinking about attacking Messing. Just looking if there are any tips we want to be concerned about. Generally form alliances with people inside my realm, since it doesn't count toward the one alliance you get outside, and it prevents people inside your realm from joining factions with you. Against you, I should say. So I want to think a little bit next time we get a perk about whether we want to go take healthy and then hold with body, which would significantly extend Vratislav's life. I think given his age, I'll probably pass on these grand tournaments. Just concerned about him getting injured and potentially dying. They do not hold the war gold. So generally, I'm not a huge fan of helping allies too much, but I think in this particular case, let's go down and help them, siege that county down, and hopefully get them to end their war quickly, and then we will turn around and attack Messed here. And one of the things that is significant in my decision to attack them is that they are of Palavian culture. Well, we only have I thought that our acceptance with them was higher. It's only 27%, so it's not that great. I still think even if we get their county, we'll be able to control any sort of issues with potential rebellions. Probably, what we could just do is figure out whichever one of the count vassals likes us the most, give them the title of the duchy. We're a king, so we can give out duchy titles. They still remain our vassals. And then once we've done that, make sure any rebellious counts go to become his vassals, and that should take care of it. Because we're playing on very hard, the AI is much less likely to rebel against an AI liege. Here, okay, so someone actually made the Kingdom of Bavaria that I was thinking about trying to conquer towards, so I guess that would be more difficult. Generally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of going to coronations of by other vassals. You can take the siege advantages in tent, which sometimes give you a little bit of gold, but not very much. And it's just generally not worth going. Now, if your liege is holding a coronation, I do think there's a very advantageous intent you can take called Advocate Domain. And if you recall, you have seen that in the first episode. I did that when Emperor Heinrich got coronated. But in terms of other vassals in the realm, I think it's just generally not worth going to their coronations. Unless you're doing it just for role playing or other fun reasons. So my son and heir is trying to become a duelist. So I sort of like the middle option here in a certain sense, but the problem is, 300 gold is a lot, and then that bottom line, he'll keep challenging people to duels. So, aspiring blade master is a good trait to have, but also we have one of our accolade knights who is the blade master, and so whenever he becomes the ruler, I think maybe even as an heir, he'll get aspiring blade master from that accolade knight. So in fact, it's not worth doing. Um, you don't really want to get him wounded, but I think he'll be able to recover. Here 98% chance, and so I think we'll get him to stop his duels. Just because the concern is, we have tragically spiteful events on. I could just see that if he keeps dueling, he gets killed in a duel, and then we have to go back and figure out who we want our heir to be. So we will take that option. Austria's war is done. We will disband all here. And now, unless the political situation has changed significantly, we will. Interesting, looks like the Holy Roman Empire also made some inroads into Hungary's territory. So again, it's quite rare that we see the Holy Roman Empire expand, but that's what we're seeing now. Yeah, unless, well, let's do this a more systematic way, which is pull up, find character, and look at all the conquerors. Yeah, there's no one who is, close to us besides the Cumans and Almoravids we've already talked about. I think they're far enough away that we can grab Messene and add them to our realm. You start collecting cash from them. We have two very powerful allies we can call to war, which is very useful. I think we should be in very good shape for this war. Let's see, I am in poor health again. I think we can fix that by getting healthy once I get the next learning perk, but obviously it's not. On the one hand, it's not ideal. On the other hand, obviously he's not going to live forever, and we have our heir settled. I think he's a good heir, so I think we're in relatively good shape. We will wait until our allies show up, particularly Austria. Unless he wants to attack us in the mountains across the river, which he does not. We will get with our allies. Wow, that was a big mistake. Was defending a river crossing. That is unfortunate. Okay. So I guess we really see here, we're playing on very hard. So he gets the plus 10 advantage there. And yeah, it just really gone quite badly. We should not have attacked. That was clearly a mistake on my part. But we have Upper Lotharingia's forces coming. So, well, I guess Upper Lotharingia will get attacked and forced back into our realm. So this obviously isn't great, but I think we'll still be okay in the long run. Might be worth hiring some special mercenaries just to speed this up. And this also goes to the point of, why wasn't I fighting a lot of wars? Well, wars are very difficult at this level, so that's why you don't do it very often. Unless you have a sort of overwhelming advantage, which obviously we have not. I think we should be able to catch part of his army there, at least score a victory. Here, this is a little bit bad because he's one of our vassals, so he can do things with a weak hook. Normally, your uh, archbishop is not, or whatever, your realm priest is not a vassal. You can easily give them a hook. They can't really do anything with it. But in this particular case, he can, but I think that's still better than paying a bunch of gold. So we'll go with that. I think we will go healthy. We do at least want to get through this war without dying. Again, give our, who will become Vrasov II a little more time to develop. Okay, that's a much more reasonable advantage there. So the lesson is, don't be dumb and attack them when they have such a huge advantage. One thing worth noting that I should have thought of before is that the Palabian culture has stalwart defenders. So they're very tough when fighting, when you're attacking them in their own territory. So what we probably want to do is get his army back down in our territory, which reduces that big advantage he has. Attack him again there, we'll be better off. Let's see where this feast is. I guess we can go with this feast. We're going to get mountaineers because, again, the Alps are incredibly dangerous. You often get this event where one of your entourage members dies, and getting mountaineer helps avoid that. Give our son ambitious here, so he's going to have a lot of good stats. So the chances of becoming ill, just too high. This one sort of seems obvious. You always worry about that, 2% down here. You just don't want him to die immediately. I think this is the one we have to take. Obviously, it's some stress. But again, he's going to a feast, so he should lose that stress as part of the feast. You just saw there, Messin hired yet more mercenaries. I think he's probably spent all the gold. I think it's probably all the mercenaries he can get. You can see this is one of our special mercenaries up here that are coming down to join us. Duke of Messin is trying to catch them. Doesn't look like he will. It's all good stuff. We just became allied with Steiermark because I assume the ruler of Austria just died, which he did. And so we don't have our alliance with Austria anymore, but we do have an alliance with one of his sons who took over the Duchy of Steiermark. The realm split here. We caused our brother to become our rival again by condemning him. We're not going to do that. We'll just, even though these two hits really are unfortunate, we'll just take them. We'll take the weak hook. We don't want to have anyone be our rival. Again, the rivals try to murder you. We don't really want to be murdered, even if it's less important now. Take the maximum stress relief. Comarch failed to further mandate. Let's make sure he's in the right mandate, which is we want him to give us lots of money. This one, I guess we might as well get a hook that we will very likely sell. Finally got the Eager Reveler trait. Gives additional stress relief and some stats. So So we don't want to pay the toll, obviously. I think we just do this one, get a tiny amount of stress. Maybe our caravan master gets wounded, that's fine. So this guy's a very good knight and bodyguard. I mean, I think let's take him. One of the things I should have done, but did not, would be to look at my knights before declaring this war. So that was also something of a mistake. I should have made sure that all of my sure. Should have made sure that I had the best knights possible. At least some people with prowess of 12, which is kind of mediocre, but still better than no knights. So I'm not quite sure what the AI is doing here, but I want to go attack them. Hopefully we can catch that guy. Yep. Now we have the big advantage because we're defending in the mountains. Again, just don't want to die. Don't want our new knight really to die. We'll just be cowards and run away. Inflicted another big defeat on the opposing armies. Just looking for the higher percentage chance here, which is that one. Now, that's not. Okay. Generally don't want to take attrition. The counties are a bit weirdly shaped here. We're going to go for this barony, which then we should be able to take their capital without taking the attrition. I guess let's try this. So, obviously wrestling and duel both give foot experience and hostile looter. Those are very important because if you get to the max level of the hostile looter trait for foot, you get additional knights, but more importantly, you get to increase the size of each of your men-at-arms regiments by 2. And that increase, carries over to your next character, even if they don't have maxed out, experience in the foot trait of hostile looter. So we do, even though we're quite old, we do still have an 18 prowess, which isn't bad. So I think let's give this a try. Where is it? I think we don't need a mountaineer. So yeah, let's see what happens here. Thankfully, our allies are coming back to us in case we get attacked. All very good. Looks like Messin is sort of running away or concerned about. So I have to face the knight that I just recruited. Probably not going to go well for me. The question here is, do we take the likelihood that our score decreases moderately, or do we just decrease the a guarantee that it decreases slightly? I think let's probably do that one. Again, I think the chances of us beating this quite qualified knight very low, so we did succeed. Maybe he'll win and we'll be able to get some sort of gold and artifact from his victory. Here, let's leave people to siege, and then hopefully our allies follow us. So you see our new knight Boso actually has killed the next guy he faced. Quite lucky that wasn't us. Not sure why it says I won, which I certainly did not do. It does look like Boso won, who is my knight, so that's good. For this, these options, Falconer experience is fine. Don't really need the timeout stress relief. Increasing our score slightly is okay, but here, we have a really good chance of getting more gold. I think it's worth doing this one, which we did, so that's good. I think we will pay attention here. Okay, go to the temple, hopefully get our score increased. We want another victory against our opponents in the Duchy of Meissen. So we're juggling that war with this. Hopefully this increases our score. That would be the last event we could do. So we will just focus on our war for now instead. Just too much stress there, so we'll take the second option. Here, just looking for the highest percentage chance. Didn't work. So, going this tournament, kind of a bust, possibly because of Vratislav's age, but I still think worth doing it ex ante. Looks like Boso actually won both events, so that's the knight that we just recruited, and we just won our war. Question is, how far away are we from another grand tour? Just 3 months, so very close. Grand tours are great since, especially if it's a taxation tour, you can get a lot of gold. Gold is good. Do a lot of things with gold. It's like Boso got a quite good hammer. I got 22 experience in foot. Not sure if that brought us up to another level. Close, but no. Here, to avoid hooks, and usually, even though I'm not much of a role player, kind of feel we ought to pay them. So let's pay them, even though it's quite a lot of money, and move on. Huh. A bit surprised this one person is so powerful. His army does not look that powerful compared to mine. I guess they're looking at his max army. I mean, if we still have our alliances, so we still have Upper Lotharingia, though he's getting old, may not be alive for much longer. And I believe we have an alliance with Steiermark. They have some troops. I mean, there's a part of me that just says, let's let that revolt fire. We'll take his lands. I mean, it's only one person. Guess we only get to take one county from him. Again, the other option is to give the duchy title to one of the other county level vassals here, and then basically stick Count Dato of Osterland, who was the former holder of the Duchy of Meissen, under that new duke. That way he won't be my direct vassal, he'll be someone else's vassal, someone else's problem. We do have a few months to decide, so we can wait on that. I'm going to, okay, Pope Alexander has died. Going to assume, yeah, that we probably can't get any other better or additional alliances. And this guy being the Bavarian king is a bit of a concern since we hold Nordgau, which is part of Bavaria. It's quite likely that he will want it back. I don't think we need to worry too much about that right now. Yeah, I continue to be surprised. So I guess maybe with his allies, he's stronger than me. I don't know. And this is what we talked about earlier. You know, didn't need to pay for, you know, soon to be Rasav II become an aspiring blade master because he was going to do it, because we have a accolade knight who is a blade master. Let's get her a husband who is good. That's a guy. Okay. Well, let's just marry him to someone then. Again, you know, we have so many women knights that we get from going to tournaments that sometimes it's hard to know whether our knights are male or female. Okay, we will extort subjects and also sell trivial titles. We will do those because, you know, they give us gold, and gold is very useful. Can demand payment from our vassals and acquaintances to get more gold. I think we just still take this one, and it's just a lot of gold. And probably we're going to stick yeah. So there's a part of me that wants to fight this guy, but the problem is, even if we defeat him, since he only holds counties now, he's only a count, we'll only be able to take a single one of his counties. If he were a duke and we could revoke his duke title and take all 4 of his counties, then I think it might be worth going to war with him. And I guess one question is, you know, do we give him the duke title, and then, you know, he presumably still revolts against us, probably. Then we fight him, take that title back. It should also revoke all 4 of his county level titles. And we give it to, you know, presumably one of our sons, who is not otherwise going to inherit, like Bretislav here. That's the sort of thing I'd almost certainly do on regular, under regular CK3 rules. Here, I wonder, it's a little bit too risky. So just thinking about what the best course is. If we still had a full strength Austria as an ally, then it might be worth doing that. All right, I think instead of doing that, let's just do what I talked about earlier. We'll give whatever count here. Well, I guess they all hate us. to give her the title. So she's in our prison. We'll give her the title. Because she's in prison, she can't join factions or rebel against us. So there you go. And so that put the rebellious vassal underneath her, so we don't have to worry about her anymore. We will, is she trying to, and we'll just leave her and her family in prison, frankly. But I think in that entire episode, in terms of attacking the Duchy of Meissen, you saw vividly illustrated all the issues I mentioned at the beginning of this video in terms of, and one I did mention, which is, because we're very hard, even non-Scourge Conqueror AIs have bonuses in terms of mercenaries, have that plus 10 advantage, and so just attacking them is more difficult. But also you see, that he was rebellious, took us more time, more gold than we had expected. And so you just really want to be very careful in terms of attacking people until you really have your armies built up. And there's always the question of was the gain worth spending all that money? I think we can go back to what we've been doing and look at building a few buildings here. We do have the Know Thyself perk, so we'll get a notification 1 year before if when Vratislav is about to die. At that point, we'll probably stop spending any money and just try to save as much as possible for our heir. We want our heir to take a max level coronation as his first thing, and then hopefully also have him go to university as the second thing he does. So which hopefully will make him a 5-star education steward, which would be great. But if not, at least he'll get some perks. So crusades are available. Someone's sending us a gift, which is great. Always happy to accept gifts of money. And so this is also important. We just saw that our liege Heinrich has passed High Crown Authority. What that means is we cannot attack other vassals unless we either have a hook or in our contract, our vassal contract, we have a sanctioned war declaration. And because of that, we almost certainly do the latter, even though this is not necessarily something we need right now. I mean, we could attack lawsuits. I'm thinking about it, but over the long run, we do want sanctioned war declaration. It's not too big of a deal to give up some more levies. I guess at 700, you're really going to be relying on your men-at-arms here. So I think it's worth making this trade, and that maintains our freedom of action to continue attacking our fellow vassals if that's what we deem to be the best course. So to some extent, it may be a benefit to us because if other vassals don't have that as part of their contracts, they won't be able to attack us. So we won't arrive this grand tournament time, so no reason to worry about it. Don't want to train because of the likelihood of a wound. So particularly thinking of Bavaria here, we can see what his contract is. Unless he has a sanctioned war declaration, he won't be able to take Nordgau, which is part of the de jure Kingdom of Bavaria. Here, hopefully we save him. We do. Uh-oh. So this is sort of less significant for the quest itself than it lets us know that the Almoravids have taken over France, which obviously means that their next target's likely to be the Holy Roman Empire, probably. I think they can't reach Germany, but either Lotharingia or Burgundy. So maybe all that stability of the HRE that we were praising earlier, maybe about to go away. Here, even though it's painful, I think I'll just finance the cause rather than raising my armies and going to fight. We'll let the rest of Christendom deal with that. Scourge conqueror, hopefully they can inflict a defeat on him, but I don't think it's that likely. It's a bit of a long journey, but I think it's fine. By the time I get back, I'll need to make a decision about whether we want to attack Lawsets or not. Here we want money, and I don't think we really need this person as one of our courtiers, so we'll just kill the thief and take even more money back. I think let's get piety in case we are thinking about declaring any more wars or getting claims. It's good to have piety so that the Pope likes us more, and we can pay for any claims we want to buy, or excommunicating people to get claims. Here, just really looking, so don't want the middle one, which has a lot of stress. I guess the bottom one for the disease resistance. We don't really care about the success chance of someone else's hunt, really. But we did in fact succeed. I'm going to look at, okay, so the wife of our heir is having a child. She is pregnant. So I want to see what that child looks like. But also, very likely, we will want to at least start the education of that child as our ward. Not sure the child will be old enough for us to give him, diligent or other traits, but that's what we want to do if we can. Don't really care if I'm late. Don't want to ransom the Duchess. Keeping her in prison means she can't really do anything to us. Oh, the Grand Tour, yes. So yeah, we definitely want to take a Grand Taxation Tour. Don't have a huge amount of available vassals. Obviously, we could have an additional available vassal if we let her out. How much? I mean, she's plus 52. I think we could ransom her. And then we could go to her as part of the Grand Tour. Should improve her opinion of us. Also get more money from her, since she's a Duchess. I think that looks good. Again, really don't need the prestige even though we don't have too many stops, I think it'll be enough to max out the success of a taxation tour. So I think this is it. Let's have her renew her homage. Hopefully can increase her taxes. So here, might as well increase cultural acceptance. Definitely gold. Don't want to be superstitious, which potentially increases our stress. Definitely want tribute. We'll avoid stress. She will not give us tribute. For these, it doesn't really matter, especially if they have the same percentage. We will, okay, don't really want to lay with this woman, potentially get someone having secrets on us and so forth, so we will decline doing that. Yeah, I mean, the concern there is that we have an illegitimate child that shows up, and we'd be an adulterer. We could lose a level of devotion, and also have someone get a secret on us. It's just not worth it. So here, I think you might as well try to be a poet, just partly for the prestige. Probably like being a poet. It increases our stats, which is good. Remember this. Also, we have another perk here. Both of these are good, but I think we'll continue to try to develop Prague, which we're currently doing. See if we can get that development as high as possible. So we increase our gold and levies. Again, definitely tribute from them. Guess we could. Yeah, don't want him to get a hook on us. I think we just say, don't have the time. We will keep Uda to avoid stress and also to increase the avariciousness of our tour. One thing is our youngest son is about to grow up. Just check to see if we can give him anything useful. Guess we can see if we can try to give him just. Don't think we've been having him study languages, which probably should have been done. Oh, he's got a couple. We continue on. Don't reach him, get some stress, but not a big deal since I should be able to get rid of the stress with going through the events in the Grand Tour. Better hunter, since it gives renown. Avoid stress. Certainly won't be starting a legend anytime soon. Again, not going to lay with anyone. So this one is sort of unfortunate because usually what happens here is that this guy's going to try to steal our gold. Problem is that 76 stress is just an awful lot. So we'll accept the invite. We will take the option that does not give us stress, gives us a little bit of gold, very small amount. Survey the lands because we like gold. Lost our wet nurse, we do want to replace her. That'll be good. At some point we lost the bodyguard. Probably don't want our player heir necessarily to be our bodyguard. We do want the 4 positions that will help reduce the chances of someone murdering us. Because we do still have some rivals out there who could be plotting our demise. At this point, it's not the hugest deal if we die. I would want to complete this tour first, because again, we have our succession set up, but still we'll increase our taxes. Try to get the renown. Ask for tribute, which we don't get. I think it's worth getting a little bit of stress to avoid a hook or her becoming our rival. Here we'll take the opinion gain with her, especially since she's not very fond of us. Save this gentleman. Option that avoids stress, also gives some learning experience. Let's not worry about trying to get a hook or not. Sort of a coin flip here. We do lose stress either way. I think we'll just take the piety instead. She did give us tribute. Mildly surprised. I'll take the top option for which has a number of benefits. We can get encourage mediator. It helps with courtly vassal opinion. Other options not terribly useful. Diplomacy perk, I guess we'll go here in case somehow we get another perk and get groomed to rule. I think that's unlikely before Radislav dies, but you never know. I don't think we need thoughtful for the opinion gain, though that was the other option. So we are at max taxation towards success, which is good. Unfortunately, our youngest son did not get a good education. Not sure why, but it's a good thing we have our second youngest son who will be our heir. Let's see. Kind of like good doing this because if you get a nauseating meal, it's stress gain, but it doesn't hurt. Unless we end up being ill, it doesn't hurt our health. On the other hand, we have like a 50% chance of getting a good meal, which does give us a health boost. Also increases our rivals' opinion of us. So I guess it now is at 100. So I think let's go with that. Fortunately, it didn't work. Yeah, we don't want him to be our nemesis because he's really going to be trying to murder us all the time. We'll just take the stress. Yeah, and again, we'll just take the option that increases his opinion of us. Again, I guess we'll lose stress. So again, another successful tour. 450 renown is great. You see we just popped up that we can take their dynasty legacy. We'll take resilient bloodline. That's probably as far as we'll go the blood tree for a little while. Especially, in this hardest rule set, one of the things that's changed is the diplomatic range is restricted. So sometimes that means you have fewer options to choose from for your to marry, which makes it more difficult to get good genetic traits. So I do sometimes wonder if it's worth going to architected ancestry and picking the quick trait just to get that intelligence trait more in our family. But decision obviously we don't have to make now. We think about it later when we get our next dynasty legacy. Obviously, a magnificent liege, very powerful. got some opinion gain on some vassals don't like us very much, so everything went well. I am curious about how the crusade is going, if it's started. Now it looks like, unfortunately, the Scourge Conqueror is winning against the crusade so far. And again, even you can see here, even though um, the Christians are fighting, in France, very close to home territory, and they, almost double up the number of, the Muslims. Being a scourge conqueror is just incredibly powerful. He's hired a ton of mercenaries. That's what scourge conquerors do all the time. That's what makes them so difficult to defeat, and why, we don't really want to fight a scourge conqueror until we have to, or until later on when we have a whole bunch of men at arms ourselves. They're stationed in counties that have military buildings that give them bonuses, and we have a very strong military character. Fighting a scourge conqueror before you have all that in place is just not going to work. You'll just get absolutely slaughtered. So with all that, I think we now the time to end this episode. We do have, well, interesting here that lawsuits became quite large compared to what we last time we saw them. So I guess he has another duchy. Wait, I'm confused. So I'm confused that we lost the Duchy of Meissen, unfortunately. So this is, yeah, okay. So I guess in retrospect, at least, that was a mistake on my part. I should have just fought that one rebellious count. So what happened is I, gave the duchy to this woman. My expectation was, who owned one county. My expectation was that we're playing on very hard, which means that AI vassals are much more obedient to the AI. I thought that would be enough here to make the vassals obedient to her. Looks like not. That there was a faction demand. And this guy from Lausitz was installed instead. In the Duke of Lausitz, he currently owns 3 dukedoms. He's not in good shape. He has 2 elder traits, but unfortunately, he only has 1 son who will inherit everything. And so really all the time and money we spent getting the Duchy of Meissen, we ended up losing it. So again, reinforces that you really want to be careful in terms of picking your wars. It is what it is at this point. I think we'll sort of see if this guy dies, if his young son takes over. Maybe he'll be weak enough that's worth for us to attack him again. And this time, make sure that we just clear out any rebellious vassals. So, again, something we learned there about, the effectiveness of, granting the duchy to someone who was, not the most powerful count in that area. But anyway, so that news is a bit disappointing. But regardless, I think we're done with this episode. Next time we can think about how we want to handle lawsuits, if at all, and continue building buildings, building up our power, and going forward from there. Thanks very much for listening and watching, and I'll see you next time.